Hello there, Pisces. Welcome to your weekly reading. So I hope you all have had a wonderful. I feel like for you guys this year, there will be a lot more. The energy is you taking a lot more initiative in your life, making things happen rather than waiting for things to happen to you. I feel like you're taking initiative, you're being more proactive, and I see you branching out as well, building, and it's going to snowball. And I feel like by the end of this year, you're going to feel really, really accomplished, and you're going to feel really happy about the direction and the trajectory of your life, especially in your professional life. So without further ado, when I was shuffling out the spread, what I saw was I see this swan. It's a white swan. It's in the middle of a really, really, really big body of water. I can't even, they're not ocean dwellers, but it just felt like it's in a lake or in a really large body of water, and I couldn't even see land or a bank in sight. Okay, so it's just adrift, and it's just looking around. The swan is white. It's looking around, and it doesn't see any land. It doesn't see any people, and so it's just adrift with the tide or wherever the wind sweeps. And it seems like a very calm, placid, surface of the water. So everything, it's like there's no imminent danger, but then again, it's like open water. And then the swan is like, I think I've had it, and it just hoists itself up and it flies into the sky. So that's what it feels like to me. And immediately when I saw this, I was just thinking, it feels to me like for many of you, this is the first time where you are coming into your own sense of potential. So it's almost like I see this element about skills transfer. And I feel almost like you're looking at your skill set, and you're looking at all your past job experience, and you're trying to do like a major career change, or you're contemplating a major career change or a change in your work environment, and you're trying to figure out how your skills are transferable. So it's almost like the swan adrift in the sea. It's floating, but at the same time it's not using its wings. And then for the very first time, you're just like, you know what, I have these wings. Why don't I just fly? Why don't I find something else? Why don't I do something that is different but more fulfilling, more in alignment with, whatever gifts, whatever endowments I already have. So I feel there's this element here about thinking about the trajectory or the direction of your life, and no longer feeling like you're just adrift in this big blue ocean. You're taking more initiative. You're being more proactive about, making decisions, but also moving yourself to a new place, and especially a higher ground. So that's what I'm seeing. What I'm also feeling as well is for the past 4 years, I almost feel like you went through the motions. And for example, I'm seeing this. It's almost like I'm going to work for 2 years. I'm going to meet, somebody, and then I'm going to get married, and then I'm going to be a mother. So that's one scenario, and I felt that. And then for others, I'm going to do college. I'm going to go off, have like a year of work experience, and then I'm going to go through grad school of a plan kind of set out for yourself, for the past 4 years. And the 4 years have passed, and you're at this point where you need to formulate the next 4 years. That's what it feels like to me. You're working in spurts, and I feel like you do have a sense of like ultimately what you want, and you do kind of prepare for it and plan for it, possibly 4 years at a time. And as a result of that, you're kind of like at the end of that 4 year period, and you're trying to formulate and lay out the blueprint for yourself for the next few years. And that puts you in a very powerful position. But I also feel like the times are changing, and you're almost like you're intuitively picking up on that it might not be safe for you anymore to just be adrift in this lake. It's open land. It's open water. You don't know what's really underneath, and you don't know how far it's going to take for you to get to shore. And you're aware of that now. You're aware of that. And I feel like you come to the realization that you have to make some changes, and you come to the realization that you have to, rather than swim, I might need to fly. So whatever it is, I feel like you're well prepared for it, and your intuition is early and it's catching it's almost recognizing these signs, and it's also recognizing this sense of restlessness that you have within you, because ultimately you're catching these signs early and the universe wants you to change direction. That's what it feels like to me. So on the mundane front, what I'm seeing in this spread is I see you and a person, possibly a family member. For some of you, it could be your own children. For others, I feel like siblings. It's somebody that you have a very strong emotional connection with, okay, like a family member. I see some of you formulating, making some plans, scheming, not in a bad way, but I feel like conjuring up some type of a plan. I see you two dealing with some type of legal paperwork, trying to get something in order, trying to plan out how things are going to happen. But I feel like the conversations are very hush hush. Okay, it's like behind closed doors, it's behind curtains, it's behind like the prying ears or the prying eyes of the neighbors. So you're doing something that is, I feel like, a little bit secretive with another person, and these conversations are very candid, very hush hush, very behind the closed doors, and you're scheming, planning something. How are we going to do this? What happens if they ask us that? How are we going to answer this question? How are we going to respond to this? Those types of things are that's what I'm seeing here. And I also feel you have somebody that you are, once again, possibly a family member. They're very harsh with their words, okay? They might say things like they might say things that they don't mean. They blow up fast, they get angry, they blow up, and then they forget, they forget about it. Okay, so the only thing I feel that is a major obstacle between you and this person is that they're harsh with their words. They're a little bit, they have, I don't want to say anger issues. I don't feel like that's the case. I feel like the right way to put it is they say things and then they forget. So when they're upset, they get really upset. So it's like, they go from 0 to like 100 on the anger spectrum. But then once they're able to vent, then they're okay. They're a really good person. They have a really good heart. But I feel like a lot of the times, Pisces, you guys are very sensitive. And I feel like you hold a lot of things in. So if somebody is like crossing the line, if somebody says things that are just very indelicate or hurtful, you have to check them on it. Okay, you can't just sit there and sulk in silence and give them the silent treatment. You have to tell them, hey, that was over the line. You said it and it was not nice, or you should like sugarcoat things, or don't speak to me that way. So what I feel here is you're dealing with someone who's you feel like they're very vulgar, or they're very indelicate, or they're just mean, but they do have a really good heart. And I feel like at the bottom line that I'm seeing is there's a lot of love here. It could be a romantic interest, it could be a family member, but the bottom line is they're very generous towards you. They really care about you. You care about them. There's a lot of love. It's just the communication needs a little bit more work. And I feel like you haven't had much success with this person. I also feel a little bit of fear from your end when you're dealing with this person. Don't be intimidated by other people, okay? And I know that's just, it's easier said than done. We feel what we feel. But don't stay in that feeling space for too long. Take action to rectify a situation. If you feel like somebody's being harsh, you need to let them know. You need to let them know that, I'm not going to tolerate this behavior, or you can't speak to people like that, or, you can't speak to me like that. I don't appreciate it, and here is why. So I feel somebody who's being a little bit insensitive with the things they say, and then you kind of recoil, and then you kind of retreat. And they don't know that they did anything wrong, okay? But I feel like this is a really generous person. So that's what I'm sensing here when it comes to your interpersonal relationships. I see people having to, if you have animals like pets and whatever that you have that are animals around you, be careful about not leaving items like stray items out, because I see some pets possibly having to go in for an x-ray because they swallow something. And I feel almost like you have to transport them. So you have to take time off work. You have to deal with the hassle. You also have to deal with the worries and the anxiety that, your pets are like wondering what's wrong with them. And that goes as well for younger children. If you have younger children, if you have small animals, just be careful, or even big animals, that you're not leaving stray items, especially, those squeaky toys. I'm also seeing toothbrushes, toothpaste, just, toxic items or items that are chewable or swallowable. Just make sure you leave that out of, sight, because I do see this worry and anxiety as it relates to children, as it relates to animals. I'm also seeing here, for those of you who are in relationships, and this is not going to apply for all, but I'm seeing this element here about somebody like really making advances on you. And so here's what I'm seeing. And if it doesn't relate, it doesn't relate, okay? I feel like you might have been with someone, or you are still with somebody who really, really loves you. And they fought for you. Like they really made it known that they really love you. And the pursuit, the way that they pursue you, it was very flat. All the steps were taken from their end. So it just felt almost like you're swept along. It's like it happened in succession, and I feel like it was just kind of out of your control. Or you didn't take initiative in the relationship. They were just, through the sheer force of just really wanting you and really loving you, they move things along. And now, I don't know how long it has been that you're in a relationship with this person, but it feels now that you're looking at the situation and you're just like, you know what? I was swept along. I was not really making any, it felt almost like you weren't really an active participant in the course of the relationship. When we are taking stock of where we've been and where we're trying to go, where you're just like, am I still really in love with this person? Is this the direction that I want my life to go? Am I still content staying in this? It's almost like having this sense of awakening that, wow, I'm, 9 years of marriage and 3 kids later, I felt like I've just been swept along. It felt like life was happening to me rather than me being able to actively carve out a path so that I can move along in my life. That's what it feels like to me. And so I also see this element about, being financially dependent on another person. It could be your partner towards you or you towards your partner. And things can get a little bit messy if you were to ever disengage and, separate or divorce. So that's what it feels like. You're coming into this major awakening. You're taking stock and you're trying to figure out, am I still happy? Is this what I want? Am I content? Is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? And so I feel like, you might have been adrift, like just going wherever the tides take you, not really steering your own boat, okay? Not being the captain of your own life. And I feel like coming into this week, and I know like I'm speaking, in terms of week, but the energy can blur into, the rest of the month. But what I feel is you're taking control. You're now steering yourself to a place of safety. And you're now taking charge of the direction of your life, charting your own path. On the road to discovery, even. For many of you, this can indicate to me travel, movement, moving away from a troublesome situation. And, it's almost like the dawning of a new day. We have here the Ten of Swords, which in this deck, whenever we come to a valley, it's a place where kind of like the heavens break open. There's that the strands or the beams of light kind of shine on that valley. It's almost like the dawning of a new day. It's a place of safety. It's a place of refuge, and being able to find people and safety and shore and land. So I feel almost like this sense of being adrift is done and over with. Whatever cycle that you have been through because of, I honestly feel like trusting in the wrong people, having this sense of wishful thinking where you're just like, it's going to happen, in the way it's supposed to happen. I can only wish for the best, and not doing enough planning in your own life. I feel like that time period is coming to an end where you are now, captain of your own ship, where you are now able to steer your life in the direction that you want. And I also feel for many of you taking a major, major, big leap of faith. Okay, so if you have been in a relationship, for example, you might be thinking about even, settling down, building a family, building a life together, focusing less on your professional life and then more on your emotional, romantic life, trying to cultivate that sense of family and community. I'm also sensing for many of you, I'm feeling almost like I see a lot of people taking trips, and this is over trips via airways, like via airplane. And I also feel like, going to the Western Europe area. I'm also seeing as well, like possibly Rome, Italy. I'm also seeing Portugal and Spain. And then I'm also seeing Latin America, especially like Argentina, trying to get back in alignment. Okay, you might have, family there. I'm also seeing as well, trying to get some projects off the ground, and you needed somebody, possibly like a buyer, a lender, or a group of people so that you can launch a project. So I do see a lot of formulating some type of a legal plan or getting something off the ground, and there's a lot of thinking that's involved. It's almost like trying to launch a project, and you need buy-in, you need financiers, you need people that are going to be on board, you also need workers, and you're going to these areas to try to plan out how it's going to happen, how to launch something, how to connect people to the right resources, and how to get this thing off the ground. And I don't feel like you're doing it on your own. I feel like you might be connecting with people over large, vast distances, possibly overseas, to get this off the ground. For some of you, you could be like remotely overseeing some type of work overseas, and now you're traveling there to see how the work is getting off the ground. You're trying to see how they're doing something so that you can replicate it where you are. So it's almost like that skills transfer once more. Learning new skills so that it can be transferable to a different work environment. And then I also feel, on the plus side, you might be a consultant where you are transferring your skills to another group of unskilled workers so that you can enhance or increase their productivity. So there's a lot of movement and a lot of thinking and a lot of strategizing and a lot of formulating new things coming into this spread. So I definitely feel, but at the same time, I just feel like the only thing is, and I've been getting this a lot for Pisces. You guys are really tolerant people. You tolerate with a lot, a lot, a lot. And I feel like a lot of the times, you know, when you don't jive well with somebody, either the way they communicate is a little bit too abrasive, you just kind of avoid them. You just kind of shy away from them. But I also feel like these people have a lot of leadership capabilities and they have a lot of good leadership qualities. And so whenever we feel ourselves in opposition or in conflict with perpetually with a certain types of people, it basically means there's a lesson to be learned there. And maybe the lesson is for you to, you know, speak up, for you not to let other people push your buttons, and for you to not let other people intimidate you, you know? So I feel like if you have family members, if you have, especially people you love, and you know they're very insensitive, for example, it's important for you to voice your opinion, and you need to tell them, you know, that's not the right way to talk, or please don't use that type of language, or you know, if you want people to listen to you, you have to say it this way. So I feel like you have a lot to offer in terms of allowing people to communicate in a way that is more in alignment with being heard. Whereas they can teach you, you know, to kind of be brave and stand up for yourself, and to really not shy away from people or situations that you feel could potentially be confrontational, but rather seeing that as a learning opportunity, and to allow yourself to put yourself in that situation. Because opposition is not always bad. It doesn't always lead to conflict. It can be very ego driven, but when we take the energy away from the person that's very ego driven, and we kind of allow that energy to permeate and reach other people, it can be a very collaborative environment. So we can change energy, we can shift energies, you know. So for example, every time we get into group work, right, and everyone can pretty much identify with this, one person ultimately takes over, and then usually we have one person that kind of free rides off, maybe more than one person that always free rides off whatever all the team members are doing. So you have the leader and you have the opportunist, and this is just prevalent across all work environment. Okay, so whenever groups form, that's what happens. One person takes over, and then the weaker person or the more opportunistic person kind of takes a step back. And so in that type of environment, it's really easy to identify people who might be very ego driven, and then people in different ways. Opportunists are also ego driven, and then leaders are also, some of them could be very ego driven. So my point here is, play around with the energy. Okay, so if somebody's like, I want to do this, and you can, you know, steer the conversation. Since we're working in a group, why don't we ask what all the members wants to do? So use your diplomacy to kind of redirect the questions, reroute ideas, and to allow everyone to feel inclusive, because that's what you're really, really good at. You make everyone feel very inclusive, and you make people feel like they're the only people in the room, that your attention's on them. So play around with the energy. You know, if you're coming into contact with someone who's very alpha, whose energy is a little bit too domineering or too demanding or too overbearing, you don't have to run away from it. Face it head on, strategize, and find ways for you to kind of, I feel, redirect the energy. So I hope the examples help, okay? Just be a little bit crafty about how you do that, but I feel like it's time to do that, okay? It's time to kind of like set people in their place, and it's time to really stand up for yourself and to ask people to, you know, speak to you how you want to be spoken to treat you how you want to be treated, all right? I hope the reading is helpful. I wish you all a very happy